Osimhen's demands are not out of place. It is actually his attitude that is out of place. Is Osimhen one of the best strikers in Europe right now? Yes. Is he one of the strikers you want to gamble on? No. This is because due to some of his antecedents, big clubs in Europe, so to say, are finding it very difficult to associate with his persona more than his ability as a player.
Welcome again to yet another episode of the Late Go podcast. It's been a minute since the last time we were on this show, and I'm sure that we all been looking forward to having a good time on the show again and ensuring that we discuss some of the most important and trending news in football, um, as it may be. On today's show, I have two of our regular guests. I've got JD as well as Ahmed. I do not need to introduce them in terms of the clubs that they support anymore because you should already be familiar with these faces. Well, how are you doing today, JD?
I'm doing very well. Good evening.
Good evening. Ahmed, how's the week been?
Yeah, it's been good. Good day, viewers.
So today we're going to be discussing a number of football topics. We're going to try to make it as short as possible, just to touch on every bit of topic that we can discuss today. We'll be looking at the transfer window so far. Mm. UEFA and FIFA have allowed a short transfer window leading up to the Club World Cup. I think the window is supposed to close. If it hasn't closed already, I'm not particularly
It
sure
closed on
now.
the 10th. It closed on the
So I think
10th.
it has closed already. There was a short transfer window, but the main transfer window is still expected to open later on this summer. We would also be talking about the Victor Osimhen situation. Where will Victor Osimhen be ending up this summer? Will he stay at Galatasaray? Napoli is obviously out of the equation. Would he be moving to the Premier League? It looks like he doesn't want to stay in Saudi as well. So we'll be looking into that as well. We'll be talking about the Nations League briefly. Portugal defeated Spain in the final on penalties. We'll be looking into that as well. We'll also be talking about Manchester City's midfield rebuild. It looks like a midfield that started around January and it has spilled over to this summer as well. So we'll be discussing that. Of course, we'll have our giveaway section like we normally do. So I hope you guys stay with us until that part. And of course, we'll be talking about the Club World Cup. Just a brief preview of what to expect in the Club World Cup. So we'll start with the transfer window. There's been a number of updates in the transfer window this summer. Some clubs have been making some moves. Some clubs have been a bit quiet. Arsenal, for example, have been quiet. JD, what do you have to say so far regarding, the transfer window, particularly the Premier League, where we have Liverpool making big moves or making a big move, Man City making several, good moves, but Arsenal seem a bit quiet. What do you make of that?
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll start with Liverpool. They are so intentional about what they want. They are the reigning champions of the Premier League, and if you look at it really well, they have acquired in the areas that they are lacking. They lost Alexander Arnold to a free transfer. He left for Real Madrid, and they immediately replaced him with someone that is worthy in the person of Frimpong. They have as well, they are on the verge of completing the signature of Milos Kakes from Bournemouth. That's one of the best left backs in the Premier League. And according to reports that came in 2 days ago, they have actually completed the signing of Florian Wirtz from Bayer Leverkusen. That is one of the most sought after attacking midfielder in world football today. So from the operations they are having in the transfer markets, you would know that they are really out to defend the title they won last season. And I think if they really, really, really get better from what they did last season, like just up it by a little bit of percentage, they still will defend their title because the only team I think can actually give them a run for their money is Manchester City. But going by what Manchester City gave us last season, it is looking more likely that it is the beginning of the end for Pep Guardiola, because most of the signings he's made recently are more of panic buys. If you look at the signings he made in January, only one of them got the kind of playing time you would expect the Pep Guardiola kind of signings to make, and that's Mamouche. He was the only one that was really integrated into the team. The likes of Victor Rice and the other guy from the Asian country, Kusano, they couldn't break into the team. The little time Kusano got to play, it was disappointing, so he was relegated to the bench. And in this summer transfer, they have already signed about two players. I think Ryan Cherky and one other player that I cannot remember now. And they have brought
They
in
also got Nuri,
I
if
yeah,
I'm not
know.
I know
mistaken.
for the left back. Yeah, and they brought in Ekeveri, the young Argentine. So I think they are as well doing the right thing by signing players, but I don't really think that Guardiola effect has been there so much that they are a fearful side. They are not looking like they are that old side that we used to know. Another thing is Arsenal should be giving Liverpool a run for their money, but I think Arsenal are still quiet, probably because the real transfer window has not gotten to full swing. We still have a whole lot of time in the summer. So let's wait and see what Arsenal will do in the transfer market. They've been linked to a number of players, especially attackers, because that's the area in which they are lacking. They have been linked to Benjamin Sesko of Red Bull Leipzig. Let's see how it goes, because it's still very early in the summer. So, but for now, I think Liverpool are doing the best business in the Premier League, and I think they might just go on to retain title.
All right, so we're still going to discuss City's midfield rebuild. I know you may have forgotten that they also got Reinders. So they got Reinders added to Nico Gonzalez that they got in January, and a few other players that they've added, but we're still going to come to that. Now, speaking of Liverpool, Ahmed, what do you think Florian Wirtz, or Wirtz, whichever way it's pronounced, I'm sorry if I pronounced that wrongly, what do you think he adds to that
Vet.
team? What do you think he adds to the team? Is it goals? Is it creativity? Eh, what exactly were they missing last season that the German had to their team?
Thank you very much. As far as I'm concerned, there is nothing Florian Wirtz wants to add to that squad that is uh, going to equate to how much they paid for him. I don't think it's worth as much as 120 million euros. But be that as it may, Liverpool currently are about to lose Luis Diaz. He's rumored to be on his way out. So Florent will definitely come with his um, high pressing side. Like we know Liverpool too, they are a team that like to press highly. So Florent is someone who is very comfortable with that from his Bayer Leverkusen days. So I think he would bring that, and his unpredictability, so to say, because to a large extent, Zoboslai was quite disappointing. I would not say he wasn't good, but he played a little lesser than expectation. So I think that was one of the reasons why they went all in for Florian Wirtz. And considering the whole saga before Salah had to renew his contract, so I believe they are looking at um, preparing for the post-Salah years. So bringing Florian Wirtz is they will give him the benefit of adapting into the system while Salah is still here before he finally gets to leave the club. So he will definitely bring in something new. He's quick, he's a good playmaker, very brilliant on his day, and he's someone who is very good with chance creation and all. So they'll definitely get something from him. But how much they get out of uh, the quality is it can we equate to the amount they paid for him? That is something I strongly doubt.
Well, people often say that you don't really know if you're gonna get value for a player until after the player has, played considerably a number of games for your team. I'll give you an example of Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne, when he was bought, there was a lot of uproar about, his transfer fee. He has been in the Premier League previously. He did not shine. Why are you spending, was it 50 million at the time? Why are you spending 50
Yeah.
million on this player? But if you look at what he's achieved with City, now that he has left City, that 50 million looks like a bargain. Personally, I feel like 120 million it's a lot for words. I do not think he's much done enough to command that type of fee. But again, at the end of his time at Liverpool, we might come back to this and say 120 million was a bargain. But that's by the way. Let's look at Serie A transfer market as well. We have AC Milan after what you would consider a very poor season, where they finished eighth or ninth position, if I'm not mistaken.
It's
And you would
I think it's
eighth
eight.
position. And you would expect that they would, um, for lack of a better, add to the team that they already have, add more quality to the team with the hope of doing well. I know that they've gone and brought in Maximiliano Allegri, and it looks like their aim for next season is to maybe qualify for Champions League and or maybe win the Scudetto. But at the same time, they've gone ahead and sold their best player. So I'm not particularly sure what signal they are trying to send. I'm not sure if I should ask the AC Milan fan this question, but I think he's probably the best person to ask because he has more knowledge or is more invested emotionally in the club. What do you think the plan is for AC Milan? I mean, you would expect that they would add more quality to that team, but they've gone ahead to sell their best player. And it looks like they're going to sell Theo Hernandez and possibly Rafael Leao. In fact, they've said that if they are not able to sell Theo Hernandez, they may freeze him out of the squad. So, what exactly is the plan for next season?
well, there's a lot going on right now in Milan, and definitely a lot of
In
uncertainties.
the red half of Milan, be
All right,
precise,
you read that
please.
one, Milan. But
Yes.
one thing is, there's a lot of quality in this side already. If we are not
Politics.
quality, I should say.
Oh, okay, okay.
This side is not our league position last season is not a true reflection of the quality we have in this side, but it is because we've had a lot of um, underperformers, so to say. But I think right now it is too early to talk about what plans AC Milan has because we've uh, actually not started to get things in motion as far as player acquisition is concerned. Yes, we've sold Reinders, who was our best performer last season, but that is largely due to the fact that um, the management were trying to balance the team accounts. So he was sacrificed, so to say, to bring in necessary inflow of cash to balance the team account. But one thing we should also consider is the fact that they brought in a Massimiliano Allegri and a Gyokeres, who are actually very seasoned as far as the Italian Serie A is concerned. So I want to believe that Allegri would accept such an appointment based on certain guarantees that must have been presented to him. So right now, we can't really say where what plans we have on ground because there was reportedly a meeting today in Casa Milan between Allegri and the management. It was a 3 hour long meeting. So I want to believe going forward we would see things start to get in motion. But right now, I think it is still very early to ascertain what the actual plan is. But notwithstanding, I believe the minimum expectation for next season is Champions League qualification. That is the absolute minimum. But are we going to aim higher than that? We would actually see because we've seen as much as we've sold renders, we've seen leaks to the likes of Osimhen. How true is that? We really don't know. At the same time, we are still trying to deal with some outgoings in Musa, who is reportedly linked to Napoli. At the same time, Chukwueze is on his way out. So there are a lot of outgoings currently, and I believe it would definitely be balanced with some new player acquisitions. We've had links to Calafiori, links to Zichenko, but there are a whole lot of names being thrown around, so we really don't know which is genuine for us. So as of now, I think it is still quite too early to uh, make some pronouncements. We have to keep our fingers crossed and see how the whole situation comes to play by the end of the summer.
So personally, I feel like Milan do not have time because if memory serves me right, they begin their season in middle of August, if I'm or early August.
Yeah,
Coppa Italia, I
preseason
think Coppa
resumes
Italia starts early
by
for them.
Papa Italia.
first week of July. So the season starts
Ah,
12th of August for AC Milan.
What,
Preseason resumes
what date is Milan's
first,
first official game?
I think 12th of August, I believe. 12th of August, yes.
So we're talking about 2 months from now. You would expect that they need to get their transfer dealings in order and start preparing for the season. It's a well, I don't know if it's a good thing that they got Modric, even though it's not official yet. But we're reading that they're going to get Modric. We're also reading that Granit Xhaka is a target for Milan, and there's also this I can't remember his name now, a young boy from Club Brugge, who
Jashari,
apparently is quite talented. But we wish
Jashari,
Milan,
Sir.
all the best. Sorry,
Okay.
what did you say his name was?
Jashari, Aaron
Jashari.
Jashari. Yes.
All right, let's hope he's not another Charles de Ketelaere. So, but we'll see how it goes. Um, your club. I don't think we've really had anything to talk about, or we've really discussed anything about Inter since the humbling that we received in the final of the Champions League. Now,
Who bring back memories?
what exactly is going on at Inter? I mean, the club has gone and embarrassed itself in the Champions League final, and this is not me saying that last season was a failure, but obviously you've come to the Champions League final, you expect a better showing on the grandest of stages. But the club embarrassed itself, or the boys embarrassed themselves, and then a few days later, the coach quits. Um, they've gone ahead to take a coach that has only 13 games experience, or 30, has only coached 13 games in Serie A in his entire career. Given that, I give it to him that is an Inter legend. His goal experience, he was a good player. At least he was above average as a defender while he was playing. And I'm talking about Christian Kivu now. They've brought in a number of young players as well, and it looks like the direction is to go for young players that can deliver now, but also have resale value that the club can possibly benefit from in the future. Now, how do you see things panning out for Inter going into the season? Are you as confident as you were this time last summer? What do you think is going to happen, especially with an inexperienced coach? And with the young players that they are seemingly looking to buy.
Definitely the confidence level would drop, given that we lost a major player who was very instrumental in the last 4 seasons. We brought in a Christian Kibu that is just easing into the world of professional coaching. But one thing I want to point out is the situation is not really as bad as people are painting it to be. If you look closely, the present situation of Inter, we have done well to retain the core of our management team. We also did well to retain the tactical coach in Czechia. We have brought in Alexander Kolarov, who knows the club quite well because he played about 2 seasons with Inter and won the Scudetto. What the management is doing is they are trying to build around Christian Kivu a working team of tactical coaches that knows the club very well, just as himself, and that can support him and work alongside him and get the players to perform at their best. Because we know literally that he is not really experienced at this level, so he would need some kind of arms to go along him. And I think the situation is not really that bad because we have retained the core of our players, and going by what we have at hand, we really do not look like losing any core of our team from last season. Instead, we look like we're going to strengthen more in the sense that we have gotten Peter Susic officially now. They were signed Enrique as well. we have been linked to some interesting players like Anjan Boni from Parma. There is this German striker that is firing on all cylinders. He has been linked to Inter as well. So the direction is there. The intention is clear. Inter knows what they want. As you said, they are trying to sign young players that can be useful right now and become valuable assets in the future, wherever the club can gain from. So I really do not think the situation is that bad. But let's see how they perform in the Club World Cup. That's going to be like a testing ground for Christian Kibu. Whatever they come back with in the Club World Cup will tell us how and what to expect from the coming season. So I really do not have a lot of fear inside of me. I'm still optimistic, but not as optimistic as I was in the past 4 seasons.
So I think I also agree with you that the situation may not be as bad as most people, see it. I mean, they've retained the core of the squad that got to the Champions League final twice in 2 seasons. I mean, you can't be a bad team if you've gotten to the final twice in the last 3 seasons, rather.
Exactly.
You definitely cannot be a bad team. And if they've retained this core of that squad, and then added a number of other players, then it means that they are, you know, it looks to me like they are doing something right. The only bit of skepticism on my own end would be on the part of the coach, where we have a coach that does not have any sort of well, I wouldn't say any sort of experience, but he's only got 13 games in Serie A. He's never managed anywhere apart from, youngsters. And I'm talking
You
about under
mentioned
19s.
rightly on the group that Conte only managed 14 games before he was hired by Juve.
Yes, well, I would say that is true. Conte had
That's not
14 game
superstition now.
experience in Serie A before he was appointed by
But
Juventus, and he went ahead
funnily
to
enough,
win.
superstition works a whole lot in football.
That's true. But he went on to win three league titles with Juventus, and then went on to win some other titles with Inter and Napoli, and of course Chelsea. One of those league titles that he won with Juventus, he went unbeaten as well. But you cannot say because that has happened, then most definitely it's going to happen with Inter. Will it happen? I hope it happens. But we just have to see what happens, especially in the Club World Cup. We would have an idea of what Christian Kivu, has to offer, and then we can then decide if the season is worth looking forward to or not. But
Another
still,
thing is that Inter are trying to ease away the old legs in the team, and they are trying to replace them with young bloods. I
yeah,
am seeing news everywhere that Chabi might be paid out of his contract, and just this evening, a news came in that Mediterranean would most probably be leaving Inter. Those are good
yeah.
developments
I
in
think I think they just want to use Achebi for the Club World Cup. Once the Club
yes,
World Cup
exactly.
is over, they would most likely pay him off and then get someone younger in his position. But I think we've dwelled too much on on transfer window. But the next thing we're going to discuss still has to do with transfer. Is about the victors. One is a Nigerian, one is Swedish. One is called Victor Osimhen. The other one is called Viktor Gyökeres. Both of them were firing on all cylinders last season. You would classify them as two of the best strikers in Europe currently. Now they've been linked with moves away from their clubs. Osimhen has been linked with a move away from Napoli for quite some time now. There was the old drama from last summer, and it was even meant to go. Saudi came along and tried to get him. They couldn't, and at the end of the day, ended up at Galatasaray. It looks like the same drama is brewing up again this summer. Now, some people have speculated that the reason that Osimhen is yet to get a move to one of the top European teams is because his demands are quite high. There's really no way to confirm that, but according to reports, that's what we've read. Um, some have also speculated that it could be because of certain things that the public might not be aware of. I tend to, side with the latter because I think that it just seems a bit odd that a player of Osimhen's caliber is yet to find a club, despite the fact that he's been available on the transfer market for 2 or 3 seasons now. Then there's Viktor Gyökeres, coming off a fantastic season with Sporting. It's been linked with moves to Chelsea, um, Man United, Arsenal, and I think a couple of Italian clubs. I think Juventus, if I'm not mistaken. But for some reason, it looks like nothing is happening as far as those two players are concerned. There's been a bit of drama with Sporting as well. Um, According to Fabrizio Romano, he reported that there was a gentleman's agreement between Gyokeres and Sporting that he would be allowed to leave this summer for 65 million naira. It looks like Sporting's president has come out to deny that and said there was no sort of agreement, and they've insisted that they want way more than 65 million euros.
Euros.
Um, how do you see this transfer sagas ending up, Ahmed? Do you think Gyökeres will get his desired move? Do you think Osimhen would end up with a big, and with all due respect to Galatasaray now, they're a big club with big tradition. But when we're talking about big European teams now, I'm talking about clubs in the top five leagues in Europe, the Arsenals, the Man United, regardless of their status at the moment, Chelsea's and the like. Do you think Osimhen still has a chance of securing that type of move?
Well, we know very well that for a transfer to happen in football, there are a lot of uh, interconnecting activities or variables that has to come in place. So, as far as the Osimhen saga is concerned, uh, this same situation presented itself just last window too, and but for a lack of a better word, all parties involved were not ready to reach a compromise. So the Galatasaray deal came to be because it was seen as a stopgap solution as at then. So right now we are facing the bubble all over again. There are questions of Osimhen's very high demand. At the same time, we know already the loyalties of Napoli would also want to request for a high transfer fee. So these variables are presently on the high side for willing suitors. The most likely suitors we had before now was Chelsea, but we know Chelsea currently they've spent a whole lot of money over the years. Currently now, I think they are very stringent with how much they are putting on player purchases. We saw that with Sancho, who they were actively trying to renew, but they felt his wage demand was quite too much. They then had to let him go and he returned to Manchester United. So we've heard of the same reason as the reason why they are not going deep into the Osimhen saga. They felt their feeling is the wage demand is equally on the high side, and they are not ready to foot his demand. So the way I see it, that has opened the window to the likes of Al Hilal coming in with their request, and it has been mentioned that Osimhen has turned them down 3 different times. At the same time, there are rumors of interest from AC Milan. We don't know how genuine that is, but we've
AC
heard
Milan
it.
does not have money, this guy.
We've, no, I'm just
Where,
reporting what we've heard.
where will you
So
get 12 million to pay Osimhen? And
don't
where
be
will you get 75
don't be
million to pay the Laurentiis?
don't be surprised that Osimhen could actually stay in Galatasaray because the way it seems, they they can continue their. He had a very good season with them. He was the best player of the season. I think he was the highest goal scorer. He was the highest goal scorer in the league, and he was beloved. He is actually beloved by the Galatasaray supporters. So the way the situation is, I think it is most likely he stays put in Galatasaray, but we never can tell. Situations could change come tomorrow. But currently, there are no top side who are in desperate need of the striker right now, except for the likes of Arsenal and let's say Manchester United. But to a little lesser extent, Chelsea were very interested, but um, the, the cost of getting him is actually the reason why Chelsea are not um, going into that bubble right now. So I think there's every possibility that he stays put in Galatasaray come the end of the transfer window. And talking of Gyokeres, we all know that dealing with Portuguese teams, especially Sporting Lisbon, is no child's play. So one of the reasons why Gyökeres will find it hard to leave to his preferred destination this window is the high cost of getting anybody from Sporting Lisbon. So just like you mentioned, the president is requesting for a very huge transfer fee. Who are those clubs that would willingly go into such situation right now? Arsenal are the most are the likeliest, but would you say Arsenal cough up almost 100 million to get a striker? I strongly doubt it. So there has to be compromise reached at some point for either of Osimhen or Gyokeres to get to that choice of destination. So as much as I can see right now.
JD, do you have anything to add briefly?
Yes, sure. I certainly feel that Oshimen's demands are not out of place. It is actually his attitude that is out of place. Is Osimhen one of the best strikers in Europe right now? Yes. Is he one of the strikers you want to gamble on? No. This is because due to some of his antecedents, big clubs in Europe, so to say, are finding it very difficult to associate with his persona more than his ability as a player. This is because every club is trying to protect their image. There's a reason Balotelli had the kind of career he had. With all due respect to him, he probably could have done more. He probably could have had more than he actually did. So the issue around Osimhen is that he has surrounded himself with people that are not helping his career grow. So I think there is something to balancing between his ability and his image. So as soon as he's able to sort that, probably the big clubs might start trooping in for him again. But for now, from what I'm seeing now, I think he will most likely remain at Galatasaray because
Who
he
are the
has
big
found
clubs
love
you
in
see
Istanbul.
dripping in?
AC
If he
Milan.
can manage his attitude, if he can manage his attitude, if he can get back to being that player he was some years ago that made Napoli
I
pay
think
that
it,
much for him. So
I think
so
it goes beyond attitude alone. There is a lack of fund
it's
currently
not lack of fund. His buyout
in
clause
football.
is 75 million euros. It's not too much to pay for a striker of Osimhen's level, and the salary is just around 12 million euros. We see players that are not as good as Osimhen anymore. So I really do not think the problem is his salary or any of his demand. It's just that he has to work on his attitude. And
His
talking about
salary is
Victor
12 million euros after tax.
After tax.
That
after
that's a
tax,
lot. That's a lot of
After
money. Oh.
tax.
I don't think
that
it's up to 12
Request.
million.
so
I think it's about 10 million because I think in Serie A, Vlahovic is the highest paid player, if I'm not mistaken, and is on around
yes,
12
yes.
million. So Siemens is
It
around
was
that
around 12 million, 10 million,
10,
yes.
10 million, 10 million mark. But that's still after tax because Serie A reports its salary is after tax, unlike Premier League
It
that
means if
reports
he's
before
willing to
tax.
remain in Europe, if he's willing to play in a big club, he has to lower his demands as well. He has a lot to do. The ball is in his court, so he knows what to do if he wants to remain in Europe, if he wants to play in the big
Well,
clubs. And for
personally, I think Galatasaray just makes sense for him because you have a club that is willing to spend money because the way those Turkish clubs have been spending money these days, is almost like they
Just
took
and the
sign
money
fans
just
are
withdrawal.
sign
idolizing
Gundogan.
him a whole lot. The fans have
uh
idolized
I
him.
don't understand what those Turkish clubs are doing. I don't know where they found money. Anyways,
Imagine.
it looks like Galatasaray has money. It
They
looks
have
Fenerbahce
like
are
money.
the
also
fans
looking to
obviously love him.
Fenerbahce
Sorry?
are also looking to bring in Bernardo Silva. So you
Ah,
can it is obvious there is
They
one money there is a printing machine in that league.
they have money to
There's a
spend
money
so
actually.
printing
There is
machine in
money in
that
the
league.
Turkish league.
for me, Turkey just makes sense. Obviously, as Nigerians, we want our footballers to play in Chelsea, Man United, but at the end of
The
the day, we
biggest
also want
clubs
them to play in clubs where they are happy and they are able to express
where
themselves
they
in the
are
best way
valued.
possible, and also play on a regular basis. So, and for me, if you consider all of that, Galatasaray just makes sense. They're able to meet his wage demands. The fans love him. He already knows the league. The club loves him. As in, everything just makes perfect sense for Galatasaray to keep
He
him.
has found love in
So
Istanbul. He
if
should
they're able
just
to
remain
come up
there.
with the money, moving on. We're also going to discuss about Portugal's triumph in the Nations League. I don't want us to dwell too much on that. there's really not much that has been said about that. There's really not much that we want to say, rather, that has not already been said about the Portuguese league, about Portugal's triumph, rather. But there's just one thing that I want us to talk about briefly, and that's Lamine Yamal. I mean, this guy is a fantastic footballer. Obviously, I love the guy. The guy delivers in terms of, you know, the way what he does on the field, how he brings players, around. He drags like two or three players towards him and then releases other players, assists, goals, creativity, and what have you. But at the same time, there's a section of fans, so to speak, that seem to believe that this guy is a bit cocky. That seem to believe that this guy is too proud, especially for his age. Personally, I do not have a problem with this. As long as you deliver, if you're proud and if you come here and tell me I'm going to win the World Cup and you go ahead and win the World Cup, I mean, who am I to blame you? But if you tell me you're going to win the World Cup and you end up getting knocked out in the group stage and you lose all three games in the group stage, then me and you are going to have a problem. Now, I just want to ask. This is just a random question. What do you guys make of Yamal's cockiness, Yamal's confidence, Yamal's, because I do not want to use the wrong word so that Barca fans do not come for me. Some people call it confidence, some people call it being cocky, some people call it just bravery, so to speak. What do you make of it? Is it a good thing for a guy's age to display that kind of? Because I know if he was an African player, they would say he has attitude. Is it a good thing for a guy of his age to display that kind of attitude, especially when you are facing legends of the game like Cristiano Ronaldo, um, Bruno Fernandes, Bernardo Silva, and the likes, and then you're going up there, Kylian Mbappe, you're going up there and saying, "Oh, if this is the tournament that's going to decide the Ballon d'Or, then let's do it." Like, I don't understand that kind of cockiness. So, what do you guys have to say about that, please?
Well, there is actually a thin line between being confident and being cocky, like it said. But as far as he's not breaking any rule, I don't see that as a problem. He's not throwing racist remarks. He's just being himself. We have our ways of pouring ourselves ahead, and if that is what gives you the confidence to do what you do, I don't see that as a problem. So in Yamal's sense, he's delivering on the field. Yeah, they fell short. They fell short a couple of times. For example, in the Champions League against Barcelona, against Inter, they fell short. They lost that tie, and also in the Nations League final, they lost that tie. But it is not to say that he was a bad performer on those days. You understand? Because this is not an individual sport. At the end of the day, the whole team has to come to
No,
play.
no.
But individually on these stages, he has stood up to be counted. He is giving his best. He played good. So I think he has backed up whatever claims or whatever trash talking he is doing. He is backed it up with good performances consistently over and over. So I don't see that as a problem. That could be his own way of motivating himself. Then it will only start to become a problem if he was breaking rules, if he was um, coming to training late, if he was going to club on nights before football matches. But that is not the case. There are players in the past who don't do this stuff he does. But we've seen cases where players are partying all night on nights before games. So he's not into all that. He's only running his mouth and all. So that could be a way of him motivating himself and you understand, putting himself on the spotlight. So I don't see that as a problem. I think but at the same time, he needs to balance it and not over push it or overdo it at times because there's actually a thin line between being confident and being cocky. So, but as of now, I don't see that as a problem. I think he's just living his youthful life.
Okay. JD, do you have anything to add briefly? 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. As Rich has said, there's a thin line between being confident and being cocky. But at the same time, I think there's a thin line between being motivated and as well being disrespectful. As we know that in sports you are supposed to be respectful towards your opponents, and the last comment Yama made about the tournament being the decider for the Ballon d'Or does not show any sort of
Your audio
respect
is breaking.
to the
Is it just me?
organizers
Yeah,
to
I
the
thought it was
organizers
just
of
me.
the Ballon d'Or. It doesn't show any respect to the organizers of the Ballon d'Or because as a footballer, as somebody that is aiming to win that particular award, you should not be the one calling the shots for the criteria for which the award will be won. So I think Yama is a fantastic player, but the question is, will he be able to handle the fallback if or when he doesn't meet up performances again, if or when he doesn't perform consistently as he's doing presently, will he be able to handle it? Will he not turn to another thing like people are coming at him or they're attacking him, kind of? So I would advise that he takes it gently. I would advise that he softens on how he talks and focus more on playing because he's still very young and has a lot of years ahead of him.
Well, like I said earlier, personally, I do not have a problem with someone being confident. If you back it up with performances, then we do not have a problem. And I think that he's going to have a very, very big career, unless, of course, something unexpected happens, like maybe a career-threatening injury and what have you. I do think that his performances may reduce going forward, or down the line, so to speak, because something that I've noticed, especially with some of these talented players, is that at some point they figure out that goals win games and goals allow you shine, more than other players. So they tend to focus more on getting goals than actually doing the things that we've come to love about them, like all the dazzling and all the skills and what have you. I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo is an example. Even Messi, to an extent, is an example. There were times when Messi was just growing up, he would take the ball from one end to another, try to dribble like four or five players. But as he, became mature, he reduced a bit of that, tried to play more with sense. I would say maturity also adds to that. But I wish him a very successful career, and I hope he does well, in his career in general. But we said we were going to talk about Man City's midfield rebuild. We do not have much time for that, but I'll just give you guys, because it looks like JD has touched on it earlier in the show as well. But I'll just give you guys 2 minutes each to discuss it, because on this show previously we've talked about how City needs a midfield revamp, especially when they were struggling last season. We discussed how Kevin De Bruyne is already past his prime. Um, Kovacic, what's his first name again now? I can't remember his
Matthew,
first name. Matthew,
Matthew,
Matthew Kovacic is also not, at the level that you'd expect him to be. Rodri obviously is still very good, but they've gone ahead to make a few purchases in that midfield. They've got Nico Gonzalez, who Pep did not really rely on despite buying him in January last season. They've been able to get Tijani Reinders from AC Milan. They've got Cherki from Lyon, who can play on the wing but can also slot in as an attacking midfielder if and when needed. So, what are your expectations for City's midfield? Do you think they've got the right combination? Do you think they're able to build on this? Like I said, let's make this as brief as possible. What are your thoughts, Ahmed?
All right. One thing is this Manchester City side, judging by the performance of last season, are not that fearsome side we used to have anymore. And this is due to many factors that we don't have the time to start mentioning. Like you said in previous episode on this same show, mentioned the necessity for City to revamp their squad, just considering that many of their very dependable guys are now way past their prime. You mentioned the need to replace De Bruyne, and there was a question thrown around us at then that who was the likely replacement they would get. And I mentioned that you don't we don't get such again. You just look for something else, and they have actually done that in bringing in Tijani Reinders. He's a very quality midfielder who would fit into the Manchester system. He's very comfortable on the ball. He's someone you should expect a lot from. currently
See the
he's
way you
added
are
goals.
hyping right now. Maybe you've collected money. Why are you still hyping him as if they are yet to
Yeah,
pay?
he's
They are
added.
yet to pay the
Position
He,
land.
versus player.
he has added goals to his skill set too. So that's a very good weapon to have. And also Ryan Cherki, a very creative midfielder. We saw a glimpse of what to expect from him in the Nations League encounter against Spain. So there is no much to say to that. We've all seen that by ourselves. And they've also added Omar Mahmoud earlier in the season. And add to that, they will be having a Rodri who would feel like a new signing, like we usually say in Syria. So I think, but one thing is the fear factor that teams you do have against them is totally away. So they need to actually hit the ground running and get back to back wins so that they can actually put some fear in the minds of their opponents. But if they struggle through the start of the season, I believe teams would come at them with confidence that this is not the city that we used to have. So the more reason why they need to go into the, and there are rumors of Grealish on his way out, where he was not a huge part of the recent City squad. So I don't think they would miss him that much. And they also need to sort their defensive situation. Ruben Diaz is currently struggling. Kusanov, who they signed, is underperforming. So they need to look at fixing that also. But for a lack of time, so I'll stop at this moment and let JD take over.
JD,
Yeah, thank you. Fantastic collection of players, but with too many diversities. We all know that Rodri was the best midfielder before his injury, but we really do not know what to expect from him after his long-term absence. Ekeveri is coming from a whole different league, from the South American league. Ryan Cherki is coming from the French league. Tijani Reinders is coming from the Serie A. Nico Gonzalez came in from the Portuguese league, even if he has already spent about 6 months in the team. So these are too many diversities, and I think Pep Guardiola has lost the magic wand, as I said earlier. I really do not see him getting these players to grip. I really do not see them working as a team like Guardiola used to get his players to do. So I have seen this before with the AC Milan of the 2023-2024 season, or was it 2022-2023 season, when they brought in so many new faces. And at the end of the day, I remember that myself and all us discussed about it. And I told him that I didn't see that working out. And eventually it didn't work out for AC Milan. So now Pep is just trying to get as much players he can get his hands on to maybe salvage some sort of situation for himself. In the end, I still think it's not for Man City because there are too many diversities and uncertainties.
in my opinion, I think momentum is all they need. If they're able to get a good precision under their belt, they're also in the Club World Cup, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes.
So if they do well in the Club World Cup, if they're able to
They
get
will
good
play the
precision
Club World
under
Cup.
their belt, all they need is to just quickly pick up momentum in the Premier League. If they play their first 10 games in the Premier League and they win eight and draw two, teams will start fearing them again. And that's the way football works. Football can be
The
psychological
momentum is Pep
sometimes.
Guardiola.
Huh?
The momentum is Pep Guardiola. I'm beginning to lose confidence in him, judging by what I saw from last season.
Well, you cannot judge a coach that has done well for over 10 years and then use one season to discard him now. He has had like
I'm
he
not
has had like
discarding. I'm not even taking
10 years,
anything
a
away.
10-year career. How many years career now? Over 10
He's a
years.
victim of his own high standard because I don't see a way
Exactly.
where someone who
Maybe,
entered
maybe.
the season in third position has failed. That's not a failure, but he's a victim of his own high standard.
But before we go, there's still our giveaway section that we need to address. Um, the question is very simple. And before I ask the question, please remember that you are to leave your responses in the comment section of our YouTube of this particular video. So in the comment section of this particular video, we'll be selecting two winners randomly. So good luck to everybody that chooses to perform. The question is very simple. On the last episode, I wasn't a part of that episode, unfortunately. On the last episode, I saw that episode and I saw Mayo. Mayo is not here today. Mayo making a bit of a comparison between Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo. Now, on that episode, he gave Lionel Messi a certain percentage. He said, let's say Lionel Messi is so percentage, Cristiano Ronaldo is so percentage. We just need our viewers to possibly watch that episode again. And if you've watched it before, hopefully you can still remember what was said on that episode and tell us what percentage Mayo gave Lionel Messi and what percentage he gave Cristiano Ronaldo. Please remember that you must be following us on all platforms to qualify for these prizes. So just answering the question may not be enough. You need to answer the question, follow us on all platforms, and then we select our winners randomly. Again, the question is, what percentage did Mayor give Cristiano Ronaldo and what percentage did he give Lionel Messi on the last episode? Guys, it's been a great time discussing football with you guys once again. I hope it's been good for you guys. Same way it's been good for me. But we
Definitely.
unfortunately every good thing has to come to an end. So we will meet again next week. Hopefully we are more than this. We're expecting to be more than this tonight, but unfortunately some of our guys called in at the last moment and they couldn't show up. Hopefully, we'll have a full out next week and we'll be able to serve you delicious, up to date, and trending news in football. Try to dissect it as much as possible to the best of our abilities. And hopefully, you guys enjoy it as you always do. Until we meet again next week, have yourself a lovely evening.